15 dastardly betrayals, 27 broken hearts, 8 bloody revolutions, 765 deadly bullets, 200 litres of blood, countless tears, 22 blissful reunions, 1 film festival.
I'm Clare Stewart, the director of the Sydney Film Festival, and I'm here to talk about the official competition. Official competitions are something that many festivals around the world have, and A-list festivals like Cannes and Venice and Berlin, for example, have a very long tradition in this space. Our competition is a little bit different from those competitions in the sense that it has a set of values attached to it. We are looking for courageous, audacious and cutting-edge films, so it means that the lineup is defined by a different set of values. The official competition has had some really startling winners already in its very short history, and was really marked in the beginning by Steve McQueen winning with Hunger, which I think set the agenda for how the competition would be considered going forward. The following year was won by Nicholas Winding Refn's Bronson, and then Xavier Dolan's Heartbeats. So you can see with those films that each of those is very different in texture, although of course we were quite worried after year 2 that we might just end up having films about prisoners. As festival director, it's my real privilege to have the choice of the films that go into the official competition, and that's one of the most exhilarating and hard-won battles of the year. When you have these set of values to work with in a curatorial sense, courageous, audacious, cutting edge, they can apply to many different elements of the film or the filmmaking process. So, for example, you have a work like Cairo 678, an extraordinary work about sexual harassment in Egypt, and it follows 3 women and the impact of sexual harassment in their lives. Now, this is really quite a radical work in the context of its own environment, because this is a very unspoken of, taboo subject. So that's very much how it addresses the criteria. And then you can go to something like The Tree of Life by the acclaimed director Terrence Malick, who's been making extraordinary films since Badlands almost 40 years ago. And in Tree of Life, you see the most dense approach to storytelling or narrative that you've ever seen him do. And you're actually moving between these different times and different perspectives in a way that's kind of quite slippery and sometimes hard to hold on to, but takes you into this incredible emotional space. And that's moving between one middle American family in the 50s, the father's played by Brad Pitt, and then his son, years later, played by Sean Penn, who's trying to come to terms with his relationship with his father. And then it also just slides off into these extraordinary sequences about evolution. And it plays this quite complex story between the idea of grace and spirituality on the one hand and nature and evolution on the other.
Guide us to the end of time.
Unless you love, your life will flash by.
Tran Anh Hung, who is the Vietnamese director of films like The Scent of Green Papaya and Siklo, does an extraordinary sort of outsider's take on what is a very famous novel by Japanese author Murakami. And I think that in itself is a really courageous step. He's bringing quite a different sensibility, but he does that really beautifully, and he kind of hones in on the emotional arc. The sort of historical detail about 60s Japan is still very much there, but not to the same degree and with the same kind of precision that it is, I guess, in Murakami's novel. So he's kind of taking a leap with this original text, if you like, and interpreting it in a way that creates its own sort of space whilst still remaining very responsive to that original work.
東京で誰かに会ってるの？その時は私に話してね。好きな人いる？
いるよ。